October ANC 5D monthly meeting. The meeting is now called to order. Secretary Bugs, please conduct the roll call.
Secretary Lewis. Here. Teacher Shropshire. Here. Al Roberts.
Present.
Bernie Blacknell.
Here.
Kathy Henderson.
Present.
I am Yvonne Bugs. Clarence Lee.
Present.
Thank you, Madam Secretary. The first item on our agenda is, let's see, just a brief comment regarding BZA case number 19061, which was a garage addition. At the September meeting, the commission voted to offer support for that project contingent upon the applicant receiving letters from homeowners that are near this property. One of the homeowners that offered support lived at 2201 M Street, which is absolutely nowhere near that location. So the commission has not received any signed letters of support. Therefore, no letter of support has been transmitted to the BZA, the Board of Zoning Adjustment. The case has been continued to December 2nd. So of course, if we received the requisite letters of support signed as we requested, I will forward a letter of support on behalf of the commission to the Board of Zoning Adjustment prior to the hearing. Does anyone have any questions about that? Let's get to over. Captain Mejia, I'm sorry, Lieutenant Mejia is waiting patiently to provide our public service report. Lieutenant, we're running a tight ship tonight. You have to stay on point. Can you just give us an overview for each PSA? Thank you.
All right. Well, good afternoon, everybody. Thanks for coming. Even heaven than that. Overall, we saw during the summertime, we saw an increase in certain crimes, including violent crimes, robberies, and assaults. But we've seen in the last 30 days, by comparison, our statistics are showing that this 30 days versus last year's 30 days, we're down significantly, as well as our fiscal year to date, we're down in violent crimes, including homicide, sexual abuse, assault with a dangerous weapon, and robbery. That also translates over into our property crimes are down from last year to this year. We're down in burglaries, motor vehicle theft, theft from automobiles, general theft, and arsons. So those property crimes are down also. So we're seeing a reduction compared to last year in these 30 days, which is a good thing. Some of the other complaints that we had during the summertime, we had a bunch of complaints about motorcycles and ATVs running around. We're still actively investigating all those acts of misconduct and traffic violations and stuff like that. Although now that the weather cools off, we're not going to see those people out there as much, but anytime we see any unregistered vehicles, including motorcycles or ATVs or mopeds, we seize those vehicles. There was also an uptick in certain PSAs of burglaries. In October, the commander implemented a burglary TAC unit, which was, and he had a number of officers assigned to try and fight the daytime burglaries of houses. So that's kind of an overall picture of what we're looking at. So,
can you give us some actual numbers?
Sure. Let's see. Like for example, 30 days versus last October to this October, same time frame, we're down. Homicides were down 100%. So those are the numbers. Now these are statistics. So in sexual abuse, we're down 100% and 60%. Assault with dangerous weapons, with gun, knife, or other, we're down 18%. Robberies with gun robberies were up 12%, but knife robberies and others were down 50 and 8%, for a total overall of 8% reduction from last year. In the overall violent crime, let's see, and let's see what we're looking at. 30 days, last 30 days versus this 30 days. In property crimes, we're down 25%. So overall, 20% of total crimes reduced 22%.
Is that for all of 5B or
That's all of
PSA's 507? Can you focus on 507
I
and
don't just have
506?
506 and 507 statistics, that was all of 5Ds, because this is all the ANC together, so that was the total numbers,
Well,
reflected in that time.
we only encompass
Okay.
PSA's 506, 507, and 505.
Okay.
We never get a report for 505.
505, 506, and 507?
Yes.
Okay, you guys wanna get to your stuff, and I'll see if I can go generate those numbers specifically?
Okay, thank you. We'll have to come back. That's
Anything
great.
else before I head up and do computer magic?
Could you state your name for the record, please?
Carlos Mejia, last name is Mejia.
Thank you.
Okay, thanks folks.
Ladies and gentlemen, we will ask that you hold your questions, your public safety questions until he returns with the specific information. We're going to move on to Thornton Developers LLC, Mr. Justin Thornton. Is he here?
Good evening, my name is Justin Thornton. I hope you all are doing well this quasi-rainy night. Members of the board wanted to come in and talk about phase 2. I think a lot of you, if you're down on Montello Avenue, you've seen phase 1, which is already in progress up on the alleyway and Montello Avenue. But we're here to talk about phase 2, which does require a BZA, a couple variances. So we have the architects here from Taves Warren Architects, and they'll help you out with that, answer any questions about the project, and moving forward.
Mr. Thornton, refresh my memory.
Yeah.
Has the commission considered this matter before phase 1?
Phase 1 is a by right development.
Did you make any type of presentation to the single member district?
We did.
And typically, we ask all developers to provide us with the materials prior to the hearing, so prior to the meeting, so that we can have an opportunity to review them, so we don't have to flip back and forth how you present.
Sure. So we did the single member district back in March, and we came back again, I think the second time, to the single member district. Had some difficulty getting on to the full ANC meeting, but we did present, yes. But in terms of the materials, we literally, I think maybe 2 or 3 days ago, finalized everything. So I just got these documents myself. So we do apologize for that. I know we don't want to be flipping back and forth, but we do hope to give you a comprehensive overview of the project and answer any of your questions.
Thank you. First, what is your timeline?
Timeline for
Are you asking for any relief from the BZA or the zoning commission?
if you don't mind me passing it on to the architect, we can give you a better understanding.
Okay.
Hi, I'm Charles Warren. I'm the principal of Taves Warren Architects. And I'll walk you through sort of the nature of the relief that we're asking for from the BZA standpoint. So the site we're addressing today is 1140 Florida Avenue. Florida Avenue in this drawing is south here, and Montello Avenue at the corner. It's a landlocked site. We don't have alley access. The lot itself is about 2,500, it's exactly 2,500 square feet. Existing use is a 2-story brick building right now. It was a former liquor store at the corner, Chinese takeout at the north end of the site. The project is essentially the project that they're looking to do is to add 2 levels to it for a total of 6 residential units. Maintaining the ground floor retail is a key component of the project. And part of the reason why we want to do that is it seems like it's sort of in keeping with the comprehensive plan, and also office planning sort of supports that. And generally, the neighborhood is supportive of retail at the corner there, some commercial use at the corner. Right now, the site is zoned C2A, so it's a 50-foot height limit, and FAR 1.5, 5 for commercial use and 2.5 overall, with a parking requirement for residential use of 1 per 2 dwelling units. Sorry.
And what are you proposing it to turn to? Because you said 2 floors added, and I'm looking at the picture for the first time, and it sounds as if you're going to double the height.
Right, we're looking to add two floors above that existing to get to a total height of 50 feet, and the allowable, try to get 6 units of the building, which is sort of required from an economic standpoint to help make the project viable. The current improvements is a 2-story brick building, as I said. It's a landlocked site. The nature of the BZA relief that we were seeking in this case would really be to allow for, right now the site is landlocked, it doesn't have alley access, and no ability to add curb cuts. So one of the key components we're looking for is relief from a parking standpoint, which is just a possible parking site, basically. The second area of relief that we're asking for is lot occupancy. Currently, the building on the ground floor is about 88% lot occupancy. It's already non-conforming. We are looking to reduce that basically down to 81%, which is an interesting bearing line. There's an existing bearing line on this backside. We're basically want to maintain that one from a structural standpoint, and also maintain the existing facades, which are, kind of a nice feature of the project. So that would reduce the amount of lot occupancy from 88% to 81%, which is still non-conforming, but we're asking for relief for that 81% lot occupancy. The other area we're looking for is FAR relief. Right now,
Can you explain to the audience what FAR is?
so yes, FAR is a ratio of how much built area you can build relative to the size of your site. C2A is 2.5 is the maximum. So say you have 2,000 square feet, and 2.5 times 2,000 square feet would be what you're allowed to build on the number of floors of the building. So right now, if we build out to the full lot occupancy, our FAR requirements, it pushes our FAR to 2.9, which is 0.4 over the maximum allowable of 5. So part of the nature of what we're looking for is that extra amount of density from the BZA. And part of the reason why that's been driven is to sort of maintain an existing structure and to maintain it, floors from a structural standpoint, it's a lot easier to keep it sort of the building from the walls in line. So that's sort of where that nature is coming from. The other reason we're asking for that is to maintain retail use on this ground floor. It displaces how much residential FAR we can get. So we're not allowed. We're trying to maintain a retail base. In order to get to the full FAR, we have to displace all that on floors 2 through 3 or 2 through 4. In order to do that, that sort of pushes us over the FAR a little bit. So those are the 3 areas of relief that we're seeking from the BZA. Is parking, which is something we can't provide on site, period. And sooner or later we have to ask for that as a matter of, to do any development on the site to the extent that traffic study, and there was no impact, they didn't see the impact, foreseeable impact of adding, 6 residential units here.
Oh, that's different.
So, adding 4 that's already here.
I have a question.
Sure.
What type of units are you intending on building?
Sorry, what do you mean by?
Rentals for sale, what are you going to do about parking?
That's the question.
Yeah, so, sorry, I wanted to jump in. I get excited at that because I actually live in the neighborhood. I live in Trinidad, off of Oak Street, it's in West Virginia, in between West Virginia and Montello. And so I actually want to hold the building, and be a part of the community. So we are looking for rental, as opposed to condo. So phase 1 is condominiums, but phase 2 would be a project that I would hold. I'm 30 years old, so I'd like to hold it for a while, and make sure that it's maintained and be a part of the community. Hopefully, we can do some Thanksgiving drives as a part of that. So that's
Okay,
it will be rental.
Sorry for
And
cutting
so-
you off mid-statement, but you said phase 1
Mm-hmm.
are condos, phase 2 are rentals.
Right.
Which phase are we in currently, and I'm lost?
So phase 1 is the 11-12 Montello, and that's currently under construction. That's this apartment buildings on it,
So-
just right north of the corner. So that's currently under construction.
Which one is
That's
the
a matter of
one
right.
that's the rentals?
Sorry, I apologize. At first, when I was saying the phase 1, which is already under construction on Montello Avenue.
Oh, so it's
Yes.
2 different units you have, or 2 different spaces?
Yes, but we're only here on phase 2. I'm only mentioning phase 1 just to let you know that I'm the same person. That's all. That's all.
Okay,
So this is phase 1. That is condominiums.
I've seen that.
Right. And then this is phase 2.
Okay.
What is the price point for one of the condominiums and the rental units?
I don't have numbers on the rental units quite yet. We've started to work on those numbers for our BZA case at the end of October. But in terms of the price point of the condominiums, we're currently at $450,000.
Okay, and what commitment are you guys going to give, because I'm assuming you got some relief with the phase 1. What are you going to do as a resident to ensure it's affordable? Because 400,000 in this area is a bit much, and you're asking for a lot of relief on your project. So,
So make sure it's affordable?
or,
I mean, I don't know.
usually, I'm asking.
Okay, let him respond.
I mean, and again, I don't know the, are we talking about phase 2, right?
Yeah, we're
Okay.
talking about what's being presented,
what
which is
we're
phase
presented
2.
today, right.
When I meet with developers, I always ask them their commitment level. Some, they already know offhand, we're doing 80%, we're doing 60% AMI. What are you initially thinking for this project? Because I know you know.
Well, so
You thought about it.
So unfortunately, because we're only at 6 units, it's really, really tough to do an affordable unit, because once you do the construction and you're lowering the rent by, say, $1,000, that $1,000 over the course of a year, 12,000 divided, it gets very complicated, but it's tough to do it on 6 units. A lot of developers are able to do it on buildings that are 25 units or more, just because you can.
So what are your rents? What are you proposing?
Again, I don't.
It's going to be market rate.
It's gonna be market rate, but I don't know what that number is. We're working on that for our hearing.
And when do you go before the BZA?
October 27th.
There is no commitment to affordable.
On that, when you said that bearing wall, because I do know the problem. Are you gonna tear down Eli's? Is that the wall between Eli's?
No, if you know where there's like a little bump out on the back of Eli's.
There's a porch.
That's
The porch, so the whole porch goes
Take the
down.
porch
All the way down.
Okay.
But Eli's, the back of Eli's, before the porch, is the end of the building, which is the bearing wall.
Okay, I just wanted,
Yeah, that's.
I wasn't sure what you were saying.
Exactly.
So I'm reading all the documentation from your BZA case, and the DDOT recommendation asked you all for some follow-up with respect to streetscaping and questions about curb cuts. It sounds like DDOT was not supportive of that, which is consistent, but there was some conversation there about some follow-ups with respect to streetscapes and those sorts of things. Could you address where you are with that?
Yes. So it's a little premature. We did have a conversation. Again, as an individual who wants to retain it, I mean, the streetscape is certainly important to me. From actual trees. I mean, there's no lights from from that building up to the church. I don't know if anyone's familiar, but it's very dark on that part of the street. So that's very important to me. That is a longer conversation with DDOT once we start applying for permits, etc. But totally committed to new sidewalks and trees and lights. I mean, that's absolutely important to me. One as a resident, two as the building owner.
Mr. Thornton, I'm very concerned that your project as presented is quite massive, quite massive. You're not offering any parking. You're asking for additional height, additional lot coverage, and your units will be offered at market rate, which means there's no incentive in any way to the community.
Just to correct that, we're not asking for additional height, we're asking for additional FAR relief and also additional lot options. We're not asking for.
And parkour.
And we are asking.
It's still a lot to ask for,
It
though,
is.
considering there are no affordable.
We're not asking for height, we're not asking for height.
Thank you for clarifying, but you guys are asking for a lot. And
I totally understand it, and trust me, as a resident of the neighborhood, if I had a project that had 25, 30, 40 units, I'm the first person to say that I want to be able to provide a home for someone who may not make as much as, market rate would bear. I went to Gonzaga College High School, and we're always giving out food to the homeless or helping those who are in more need. So I'm not that person to just, hey, I want to build a building and just move on. It's just because of the number of units, it's difficult to make the numbers work. And remember, I have to go to the bank. After this is all said and done, I have to go to the bank and make a presentation. And if you start lowering how much you're bringing in for rent, it makes it more of a difficult loan for the bank.
Mr. Thornton, every developer says that same thing.
It's
Mr. Roberts?
it is a
Commissioner Bugs, is your project?
Yeah,
I guess the question, could you address what, if you had a meeting, what the outcome was?
we had a meeting, I think it was in July, if I'm not mistaken. And it was attended by 20, constituents. And we all talked about, the retail space and, the affordable housing and all of that. And after it was all said and done, there was no opposition for this part. Only they did have a concern with the parking, as do I, that is right across the piece of me. But, we report.
Commissioner Lewis, then I'm gonna take final comments from the commissions and open it up to the public. Commissioner Lewis.
I'm a little bit concerned, and I usually don't overstep my bounds into another commissioner's commission. But I find it hard to understand and believe that residents would not be concerned that all the units are at market rate. Were they aware that likely they could not afford the building?
They present as they are today, and they are aware.
But did they, because even some of the commissioners here did not realize that it was at market rate. Words can be used where people feel as if, oh, it's a nice establishment, I'm going to have retail, I'm going to have all of those things, and I likely can move in. If I didn't ask the question about what levels he's willing to commit to, I don't think a majority of people would have known it would be at market rate. So were they absolutely sure on that? I don't feel comfortable voting for the project.
Commissioner Lee?
The first plus for the neighborhood was that he closed the liquor store, which was a problem in the neighborhood. So that in itself is a benefit to the neighborhood because it was a place where the guys hung out, they drank, and they got drunk. And so when he purchased the building, he closed the liquor store. The lease went up, he didn't do this. That was the first plus. The building next to it is a condominium and went up at, did no affordable housing, went up in market rate. So small, in our neighborhood, even though it's not my S&D, but I claim from Broad Avenue to Mall Avenue Road, because I walk the whole neighborhood. And the neighborhood is changing, whereas, quite honestly, we don't have a lot of people, especially on that end, that are looking for affordable housing. You have $1 Million home down the street on Florida Avenue, and big condo project, $400,000 behind it, behind the church. we're not getting a lot of people coming to say they want affordable housing.
I understand that part, but I'm just looking at DC as a whole, and DC as a whole has an affordability issue. I'm a realtor, and for me to push so hard for affordable housing as a realtor makes no logical sense, but I just can't understand our community knowing the levels. Your community might be a bit more affluent than mine, but it's still an issue within DC.
We don't disagree with you there.
And I don't think there's any disagreement on our side, especially, again, I know I keep harping on it, but I'm from here and I totally understand it. But on the size of a project of this size, I can't get tax credits. There's no, there's no relief from the bank in terms of we'll give you a lesser interest rate to do that because it's not in their benefit. So if I could do it, I would, but it's just at this size of the project, it just doesn't make financial sense. One, to my investors, and two, to the bank, and I just can't make it. If there was tax credits, I absolutely would.
Okay, I actually agree with Commissioner Lewis's concerns about affordable housing. As everyone knows, affordable housing in this city is at an all-time low. It's one of the Mayor Bowser's priorities, and certainly it is a priority of this commission, and it should be rightfully a priority of this commission and everyone in here. It should be a priority of every commission to promote affordable housing. I have serious reservations about your project. I certainly respect, your willingness to close down a liquor store and replace that with housing. But I don't think we ought to get into the position of being so grateful for losing an undesirable business that we, on the other hand, accept a massive project that frankly just precludes a good portion of the community. So with that, I will open it up to the audience. This gentleman, then you, Ms. Ramsey.
Yes.
Yes, sir.
My name is Jared Mercadante. I live right around the corner, on Morrison Montello. So
Okay.
I'm very familiar with the project. And I'd like to start off by saying that I support the project, although I recognize the major concerns. I think there's valid effort being done to make it well designed and architecturally appealing, considering some of the other projects that have gone on in the neighborhood are just square blocks and have no design to them. So I appreciate that. I don't mind the increasing density. Urban density is not a problem. I think there's the height of the city can accommodate the extra housing, and I don't think that's an issue. I do worry about both issues that were raised. One, the lack of affordable housing, and I can recognize your argument. And although I appreciate the issues you're going through, it doesn't necessarily solve the problem. It doesn't address the issue that there is more and more housing coming to the area that's less and less affordable. The other issue I have is the parking. And you claim there's nowhere to park. Well, part of that's because you're building on already where the parking used to be, right? The first condo gone off where the parking was. So yes, there's no parking because you've already taken it away. But that's beyond the point because you've gotten permits for that. But the question really becomes is how do you propose to address this? There's more and more condos coming in the area. There's already, if you're a resident, you realize this is a limited amount of parking as it stands. So how do we address myself as a neighbor who has one car with 9 units coming in here, 55 units coming over there? There's no parking as it is. So what are we supposed to do to address that issue? So my support is for the project. I appreciate that you're keeping the commercial, and I wouldn't propose getting rid of the commercial so you can accommodate more housing, so you can have the affordable rate. But I'm just concerned about those two elements of that.
Sure. You want to respond?
Go ahead.
In terms of the parking, I mean, I totally, as a resident, as a matter of fact, I used to live on the 1200 block of High Street, which is right behind all the bars and restaurants, so very sensitive to that fact. But as it relates to this, I think when we said that we can't provide parking, yes, you're right, the parking lot we are building on, but it wasn't really parking for the building. And then secondarily, we can't, the site isn't wide enough for us to provide underground parking and what is at grade. So unfortunately, we can't do that. There are a few things that the Board of Zoning Adjustment, which we'll be seeing them October 27th. May or may not bring up in terms of trying to alleviate some of those issues, but we won't know that until we do.
Ms. Ramsey?
Yeah, I just had a question on IZ units. Other people know affordable housing issues better than I, but what I've read in the past, those units only have to be provided in the city if they're building 10 or more units. Does that still take effect in DC? Is that the law?
It's
That's the law, 10 or more.
Okay.
That's correct.
So affordable housing is important in the city, but most of the developers that come in are doing the minimum of what they have to.
And in
Yes,
this case, there is a,
most developers do the minimum, you know, but when they come and ask for a lot from a community, I think they should give back to the community at the same time.
any other comments from the audience? Any other questions or concerns? Yes, ma'am.
The number of residents that attended, were they in that immediate area there? And did you, I'm sure you took they signed in?
Yes, they did sign in.
And on the second note, the one, you may not have this answer, but I'm interested in their income level, because they see no problem with this type of, project coming, you know, at such a high cost, okay?
Well, I can't tell you their income level, but the residents from the corner of Florida up past where he has built on the lot, and by the way, that was not a public lot before he started building. Those residents are for this project, and maybe because they're homeowners, I don't, you know, they were for, and yes, they were at the meeting.
And one other question, when do you anticipate